Welcome to Bike World, welcome to Germany, welcome to a strange location in the middle of a lake, but more importantly, welcome to the introduction of BMW's R12 G/S, not GS. So this is the G/S, but it's got the full enduro package. So we've got the specialist enduro mode and enduro mode plus. We've also got an 18-inch back wheel, not a 17, front's a 21. It is essentially the old air-cooled GS engine, which is the same engine that you'll find in the R12 9T. Kind of feels, I don't know, GS's have always got this lovely balance to it. This has the same kind of feeling to it, but it is a lot more agricultural than the new 1300 or the 1250. This is the old air-cooled engine, so it's the same kind of modified air-cooled gearbox as well, I guess. So we have been told not to rooster anybody and take it reasonably steady. It's got proper off-road potential. It's got big travel suspension, over 200mm, big ground clearance. Because we've got the 18-inch back wheel, we've got more ground clearance. So what they do is they just make the forks, they pull the forks out if you have the 18-inch on the back. Try and hit as many trees as possible, obviously. Because we're on the enduro model, we've got the bar raisers, which you can just see. So that gives the bars a more natural position when you're stood up. So there's a lot you can do to the retro GS to make it off-road capable. I mean, we've got every box ticked here at the moment. Clocks are, I would say, retro and a little bit basic, but we've got see the RPM, battery, fuel, trip, time, etc. Got heated grips, I think. Yes, that's an optional extra. Cruise control we've also got, but I can't put that on because I've switched off the traction. SOS, and we've got the mode button here on the right hand side. Keyless ignition, but we've still got the key, which is exactly the same on the R12 9T, which does the steering lock. A little bit odd to have a keyless ignition with a key, if that makes any sense. I like this enduro park. I also kind of like the fact they've not asked me where I'm going or my level of skill. Just shit me, that's steep. Just assumed that I could do it. This is doing a lot better than airborne than it's on paper weight suggests. Oh, that's steep and muddy. Go on, girl. I mean, yeah, it's a 1200 GS, so it's heavy. There's no denying it's got weight. We have had an absolute ball in this enduro park. We've been riding most of the morning. We've been doing cool little jumps, and the 1200 GS is way above expectations. It's a little, I'm on the clutch quite a lot, so I think first gear is quite long, but apart from that, it's so hard to fault. Back in the 70s, the guys at BMW came up with a unique idea to put an air-cooled boxer in a kind of off-road chassis. Now, what that idea wasn't driven by marketing, it wasn't driven by advertising, it wasn't driven by accounts, it was driven by a group of guys in BMW who thought that'd be a good idea. And then in, I think it was 1980, the actual bike was launched, and everybody kind of stood back and went, oh, that's a little bit different. And then I think it was 81, 82, they entered the Dakar and started having success at the Dakar with their air-cooled big GS. And that was the kind of birth point, the start point of the GS, the famous GS that we have today. And this is the next generation. So it is essentially a throwback to that original GS using a modern air-cooled 1200 engine, but not the latest 1250 partially water-cooled engine and not the 1300 water-cooled engine. So this is the old air-cooled 1200 engine, pretty much the one you'll see in the R9T. So today BMW has given us kind of like two bikes, if you much, because it depends on which boxes you tick, depends on which bike you've got. So we had one bike in the enduro park that had the enduro package. And what that means is the 17-inch rear wheel is replaced with an 18-inch wheel. The forks are more flush in the yoke, they're not dropped through, so that gives it more ground clearance. Suspension stays the same, but there's a little bit of difference more in the ground clearance. And then on that bike, we had so much fun at the enduro park. I didn't think it would be that much fun. It's absolute comical. The facilities there are absolutely excellent. So we could do everything from deep water to steep ascents, descents, did a few little jumps, had some fun, played about with the different modes. You have Enduro and you have an Enduro Pro, and that depends on what you want to do with the braking, which switches off the ABS from the rear. You can't switch the ABS off entirely, but you can switch off the traction control entirely. So the most radical bike you can have is an air-cooled 1200 with just shy of 110 horsepower, with just ABS on the front, no ABS on the rear, and the back end is free to do what it wants. But I think people who want something extreme are probably not looking at this retro 80s throwback. I think what they want from this retro cool looking bike is something that's pretty simple and pretty easy to ride off-road, and that's exactly what it is. It reminds me of almost like an old tractor or an old Land Rover, and I mean that in a really complimentary way. It just kind of chugs through and plows through. The throttle delivery from low down is really soft and really nice. I think first gear is a little bit long because I ended up using the clutch quite a lot through some of the twisties, through the real tight woodland section, but it performed way above what I was expecting it to do. So now we're on to the 1200G/S GS, and this is the more road focused bike. So you can tell that because the forks are a little bit gone through. So you drop the forks through. So we've got a 17-inch back wheel, not a 18-inch back wheel, so the little less ground clearance, but we've still got a 21-inch front wheel. We've still got the same long travel suspension, different clocks that we had off-road, so we've got some more modern type clocks, which are the clocks from the R9T, if I remember rightly. Heated grips, cruise control, everything you'd expect from BMW. And we've got like a really long road ride now this afternoon. We're on gravel at the moment, but it's going to be gravel and road apparently. It's been great on the road. Again, it's all about that torque, about that sound, about that feeling, but it's agile, it's reasonably nimble. The brakes are really strong. Those big BMW branded brakes are really strong, and as you'd expect from BMW, pretty simple, easy to use switchgear. We've got cruise control as an option, we've got the heated grip, we've got the SOS, we've got the multiple modes. It's all pretty simple and easy to use. Those who are used to those huge dashes that you have on the GS family, I might be slightly disappointed because we're back to a either digital or analog dash, depending on which accessories box you've ticked. The other strange kind of weirdness is we've still got a steering lock key, so there's still somewhere to put your key to do the steering lock, but there's actually no need for a key because it's keyless. So it was something that I found a little bit unusual on the R9T, and this carries the same over. The other one that it's a little bit of a niggle is there's no fuel gauge, there's just a fuel light. So you'll be in the middle of nowhere like we had here in Germany, the fuel light comes on and it's a mad dash to find the nearest fuel station. But aside from the few little niggles, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I was hoping it was going to be an easy to ride retro adventure bike that looks cool but is still fun, and it's ticked all those boxes. I think there's a few people who are going to say 107 horsepower isn't enough. It does feel like we've stepped back a little bit in time. If you've ridden the 1250 GS or the 1300 GS, it does lack a bit of power. It feels a little bit rough. The gearbox isn't perfect, neither is the quick shifter, but to me that all adds a little bit of character and a little bit of soul, and that's what I really loved about the R9T that I had for so long from BMW. I think BMW have absolutely ticked the box when it comes to styling. Not too sure personally about this kind of sand look which throws back to the Dakar days. I much prefer the white, red and blue finish. I think that looks absolutely spot on. The big asking point I think for most people is going to be price, as it always is with BMW, and yeah, it feels quality, yes it feels premium, but there are going to be people who are going to say, well, it's less than 110 horsepower and you're using old technology, and the base bike starts at 14,450. Then add a few tweaks, you can easily get to £17,000, which is near enough what the off-road bike was. And if you tick all the boxes, you can easily go north of £18,000, which is a lot of money for a 110 horsepower retro looking bike, especially when you look at the competition, because initially I didn't think there's any other retro cool looking big adventure bikes. But then, oh yeah, Triumph have got the Scrambler and Guzzi have got the V85, and you could even argue Ducati have got their big Scrambler. So there is other options, and they're all considerably cheaper. But I guess that's down to your personal preference, it's down to your financial circumstances, and I guess most people are just going to tick a load of accessory boxes, ignore the big price, and just pay for it on PCP. But in terms of what a bike makes you want to do, in terms of does it make you smile, does it give you enjoyment to ride, does it give you enjoyment when you open the garage door, then tick, 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 tick. I didn't think I would like the BMW R9T as much as I did, and then after owning it for 7 or 8 months, I absolutely adored it. And I think I could easily love the new G/S as much as I did my R9T. I think it looks great, it sounds great, it feels great to ride. It's not the most thrilling, it's not the most exciting, it's not the most refined, but it's an absolute hoot off-road. The next big test for this bike is we're going to have to give it to our trained stunt monkey Chris, who's going to, I think is absolutely going to love it. He's going to love the torque, he's going to love the low-down usability. I don't know if it gets in the hands of an expert rider if he's going to like the fact that you can't turn the front ABS off, but time will tell. So the next time you see this beautiful looking GS, it's probably going to be about 8 foot in the air, somewhere in the middle of Wales, or deep in a rut, or in the middle of a swamp.